Here are the main stories we will cover in this week's edition of The Weekly, dropping on Sunday on X. ACHR Aviation bought 3 businesses from Boeing. IonQ entered the next phase of its path towards a full fault-tolerant quantum computer, and Oklo got its first deployment blueprint by turning on the Groves reactor. Plus, a quick read on the macro backdrop. Let's get into it. The market and LIVICUS portfolio were basically flat this week, but looking under the hood we see 3 main outliers. ACHR is up 18% following the news we'll discuss, and Oklo and EVA are down slightly following strong share price appreciation last week after they posted earnings. Here's a quick macro backdrop. It's been a relatively stable week in the US-Iran conflict. No major new airstrikes, though low-level maritime tensions continue. The White House now seems to be emphasizing economic pressure and the naval blockade over further military action, but the impact is still unclear. Ship traffic through the Strait of Hormuz continues to stay at a fraction of what it was before the conflict, even as President Trump has repeatedly claimed the US has total control over the strait this week. On the economic front, a week of soft data has cooled expectations of a Federal Reserve rate hike on September 16th. The July Consumer Price Index eased to 3.4% and retail sales fell 0.6% versus a slight increase expected by many. According to Polymarket, the probability of a rate hike in September by the Fed has decreased to 25%. Now for some company updates. ACHR reported their Q2 results and they were fine, not spectacular. Operating cash outflow of $156 million, capex of $37 million, and they're sitting on a solid $1.6 billion in cash. But here's the story that caught everyone's eye. ACHR is acquiring 3 businesses from Boeing: Wisk, SkyGrid and InSitu, in an all-stock deal which will leave Boeing owning about 16.5% of ACHR with continued access to the autonomy stack IP. Let's zoom into Wisk, Boeing's autonomous eVTOL company. Already on its 6th generation aircraft and going through FAA type certification just like ACHR. Both companies use a similar design setup. 12 propellers with 6 fixed and 6 that transition from vertical to horizontal flight. But while ACHR has focused on commercialization, Wisk has put most of its effort into autonomy. Following the 2023 settlement of their patent and trade secret dispute, Wisk became ACHR's autonomy provider, and all that knowledge will now transfer in-house. It will initially serve to support the efforts on the newly released Halo product developed in collaboration with Anduril, and will subsequently support Midnight once the FAA approves autonomous passenger flights. Make sure to check out the full weekly dropping on Sunday to read the details on SkyGrid and InSitu. Next up, IonQ. Record Q2 revenue of $80.1 million, up 287% year-on-year, negative free cash flow of $273 million, and cash sits at roughly $2 billion after taking into account the Skywater acquisition. The most interesting update to us was on the progress the company is making in transitioning from its roughly 100-qubit tempo system to a 256-qubit semiconductor-based QPU. Think of it as a GPU but with a Q for quantum. The first QPUs produced by their newly acquired Skywater chip factory are already in testing, with system commissioning targeted for 2027. Combined with the walking cat architecture that IonQ developed, this places the company on a clear path of continued scaling towards a system that can economically perform tasks that are impossible for today's supercomputers. Hey guys, a quick pause. If you're new here, this is LIVICUS. It's our open portfolio where we hunt for high quality growth stocks that still have real upside, before most people are paying attention to them. And every week we break down what moved the portfolio. No hype, no BS, just the research. If that's useful to you, hit subscribe so you don't miss next week's breakdown. And our third story, Oklo. Their cash position rose to $3 billion this quarter. Capex climbed to $94 million and operating cash flow came in at negative $48 million. Full year guidance on cash out was increased by about $100 million to $120 to $150 million in operating expenses and $400 to $500 million in capex. But the real headline is that Oklo achieved criticality on its first self-designed and built reactor at their Groves facility at record speed. Criticality means the reactor has reached a self-sustaining nuclear chain reaction. Though not completely identical to their Aurora powerhouses, it does give Oklo a first blueprint in terms of design, procedures, suppliers, etc. to start building out its full business model, consisting of fuel production and recycling, power generation and isotope production. The increase in cash out guidance reflects this readiness to start executing. And that's a wrap. Make sure you subscribe and check out the full weekly dropping on Sunday on X. For the complete story on ACHR, IonQ and Oklo, news on Navan and Grok 4.6, our view on current portfolio company price levels and much more. These are just our opinions. Please supplement it with your own research before making an investment decision.